Hello, the Script Mistress podcast. Here you are again, scene 5. I'm so glad you're still listening or watching. As you probably guessed, we're going to start putting this on YouTube as well. But this week, as we start our October challenge, I'm really excited. If you guys didn't sign up for the Ink to Screen screenwriting challenge, you missed out. This week is all about phobias. I sent out 4 images of 4 different phobias where each writer had to pick one phobia. They didn't have to go off the picture. They did have to pick the phobia, do some research, and not necessarily have to do a horror script, but definitely using that phobia within their entire script. I'm really excited. I can't wait to read those. So as our writers are vigorously trying to think of scripts as these 5 days. It started on Wednesday, and it will go until this Sunday at midnight. So you guys have plenty of time. I decided to kind of sit down with somebody that I admire and have been excited to learn from and to really connect with. His name is Scott Young. He runs an amazing audio show out of Nevada, and it was really great reaching out. I got to be on his audio show, The Secret's Harridge House, which is really great. I'm going to add all of the information in our show notes, and if you're looking on the page, I'll have it all in there with a headshot of him. But I just wanted to kind of go over things. He's been in the business for a very long time, and he's now supplanted himself in Nevada, and he works really hard creating media and scripts and everything for the radio, which I think is amazing because that's just another source for us. I mean, we have podcast dramas, have all of that. So there are plenty of places to write if we can't get our stuff on screen. So I really wanted to sit down with him, see what tips he had for us. So I really hope you enjoy the interview. Again, I don't do a lot of editing quite yet. Still nuts and bolts here. So there was kind of a break in the middle there. We had an issue with audio, but we got back. So here is our interview with him. I hope you enjoy it. And yes, October has started for the Ink to Screen. So please come and join us for November. We'll have another one starting up pretty soon. But if not, you should definitely read the winners. So Joseph Johnson won our very first reboots, won our September challenge, and very excited to be posting everybody's work on our website. You can check it all out at www.thescriptmistress.com. And I really hope you enjoy this episode. I had a lot of fun doing it. And moving forward, I really want to do interviews while you guys are working on your scripts. Not giving you too much stuff, but just listen to some great things and some great writers, their success stories and what they've found has worked from that for them as writers. That's what I want to help you out with. So sit back and enjoy this interview as much as I did doing it. Thank you. Yeah, we're just kind of talking about the video that we'll be putting up. I'll put on the web page. So everybody, this will be our scene 5. So it'll be www.thescriptmistress.com/scene5. And we'll have the video there. Otherwise, I'm here with Scott Young. Hi, Scott.
Hey Amber, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. And like we talked about earlier, tell everybody, yep, this will not be edited. So we are just gonna have fun. His eyes got so big. So this is gonna be a lot of fun. And that's where we find the good stuff is in the bloopers, right?
Yeah,
The
except the
messing up.
bloopers aren't supposed to actually air anywhere. They're supposed to be like bonus material on the DVD,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, but everybody gets the bonus. Now everybody gets the bonus here. All right. So, Scott, I want you to describe your screenwriting journey in 100 words or less.
Oh, put me on the
I'm
spot, why don't
I'm
you?
kidding. I'm kidding. No.
Oh, I could
No.
do it. I could do it. Give me like 30 seconds to compose my thoughts here. I could probably do that.
Yeah. No, go to town. Go to town.
Well, what do you want to know?
Describe, yeah. Where your screen what like where did you start? How long has
Oh,
it been? Like your screenwriting journey.
I was in my whole writing journey actually. I was in
Mhm.
college. I had wanted to work in the film industry, so I went to Cal State Northridge to go to film school. That's in the San Fernando Valley, north of Los Angeles. Um, and I had been working on scripts in my off hours and all of that. I was watching a TV show with a friend of mine on a Sunday night, and we were laughing at how hysterically bad the show was. And it was like synchronicity. We both turned and looked at each other and went, we can write better than that. And so, just as an exercise in just to see if we could do it, we sat down and we studied the show enough, and we did a little research on the producer, got some background on him, and then in like a 4-day period, we wrote a script for that show. When we were done with it, of course, we were sitting there going, "Yeah, this is definitely better than anything the show has aired so far." Uh, it's like, what do we do with it now? Well, the
Mhm.
show was filmed at Universal, and I had friends who worked at Universal, so I called over there and I said, just leave me a gate pass. Don't ask me what I'm doing. Just leave me a gate pass. And so I went over to Universal in the middle of the week, took time off from school, and went over there. And I had the script tucked under my arm, copy of it, and got on the lot, went to see one of my friends, and I said, okay, find out for me where this producer's office is. And lo and behold, it was in the same building. It was just like 2 floors up in the same building where I was. So I said, thanks. And I took off. And I basically just went up there, found the office. Secretary's busy typing away, and I just breezed right past her into the office. She's like, wait, wait. And I get in there and I'm like, look, Jeff, hear me out. Give me 2 minutes. Just hear me out. He looked up and he started laughing and he said, all right, you got 2 minutes. So I told him basically, we'd been watching the show and we had the script, and it's like, just read it. It's all we want you to do is just read it. We don't care. We sold it to the show.
Wow.
And thankfully, because the show was so dismally bad, it didn't get produced.
Mm.
They had a 13 episode half season commitment, and
Mhm.
the network pulled the plug on the show on the 10th episode. So when that wrapped production, that was it. They were done, and we were scheduled to be the 13th script. We were the
Aw.
13th episode. So there were 3 that didn't get produced. And I knew the other authors, I knew the other writers, and we all agreed that it's probably just as well we didn't get our scripts produced on that show. It was just like,
Mhm.
we didn't, we didn't. So, all right. So the show got canceled.
Mhm.
That producer, Jeff Freilich, went from Universal to Lorimar. The writers all split. It was a faction. It's like half the writers went to work for Aaron Spelling, the other half went to work for Lorimar. Lorimar was producing Dallas and Flamingo Road at the time, and Knots Landing had just come on the air too. So the nighttime soap operas
Mhm.
were the bulk of them were being done by Lorimar. So Jeff went over there, and I followed him, and as did several other people. And then the other group of writers went over to Aaron Spelling and worked over there on Dynasty. Um, Jeff got on Flamingo Road, and I just kind of hung around. I didn't actually. I did sit in on writers' meetings on that, but I didn't actually contribute anything of. I didn't write a script or anything for the show, but that got me in the door. It got me where I needed to be, and then
Mhm.
from then on, um, I just kept writing and kept working, and I've developed a bunch of pilots. I've developed a couple of feature films. Um, and then most recently, just thanks to the COVID pandemic, the most recent activity, because people weren't able to go to theater and movies and things like that, um, I created a radio show. So we have a radio soap opera that's been running for 2 years now. That's just coming to an end. So
Mhm. Yes, yes. And that's I think I mean later talking about that now I think that's such a bigger medium than it was I think like retro whatever but the radio and podcasts I love listening to podcast
Hmm.
dramas
Hmm.
because it's just nice anymore we're so busy that sometimes all we can is just lend an ear not necessarily an eye anymore.
Well, I've discovered with audio, with radio and podcasts, that driving in the car, you just put it on the radio,
Mhm.
just get immersed in the story while you're driving wherever you're going. And
Yeah.
I found myself getting to places where it's like, oh, it's almost over. I'll just sit here and finish listening to it, and then I'll go do what I have to do.
Yes,
So
yes,
there's
nice.
there's so
Yeah.
many good shows out there now that are in the podcast arena and in the radio arena. It's the old adage that you hear from time to time when people say, everything that is old will be new again. And
Mhm.
like vinyl records are coming back or have been coming back for the last couple
Have
of
been.
years. And
Yeah.
now radio and podcasting and audio dramas and audio comedies and all of that are coming back too.
Hmm. Yeah. See, so there's definitely more opening where they could just create it themselves as well. I think that's awesome.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think there's a market too for them, because you have audio books which are
Hmm.
designed for people who are busy, but also for people who have lost their sight, so they
Yeah.
can't watch TV. So they have to
Hmm.
listen to, they have to use their other senses. So radio drama, actually full cast scripted radio productions, uh, basically it's television without the video.
Yes. Yes.
Uh-oh. Oh, I just.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty, but now we are back. Am I back on my headset? I'm good.
Mhm.
Okay. Good. Sound good. All right. Sorry about that, Scott.
That's okay.
So yeah, so you're talking about the radio definitely has a market for that and everything too. And what got you into to Carson City, where you currently are?
Well, that was a long journey too. After working in the studio system for about 15 years, I
Hmm.
was fed up with Hollywood in general.
Hmm.
And just, I don't know, I was just unhappy. I was working for a great company and a great group of people, uh, and all of that, but I just wasn't happy with what was happening. I was doing everything for that company except what I really wanted to do, which was be behind the camera creating content.
Hmm.
So I made the decision. The the great company I was working for went belly up. The bank foreclosed on all the notes, and
Mm.
we had our own version of Black Friday, where we all came to work and were greeted in the lobby by bankers in suits
Oh
who gave us the box of our things that were on our desk that belonged to us, and said, here's your severance package. We at least got a severance package. That was the best part. And it's like, now get off the premises, basically.
no! Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, it was like we went home the night before and we came back the next day and we were all out of work. So um,
Wow.
this I got to give them credit, because they did give us the severance package. It was based on our longevity and how long we'd been with the company and all that. And I lived a little over a year off that severance package without having to go
Wow.
find another job. But it was during that year that I decided I'm leaving LA. I'm tired of all this. Um, so I ended up in Sacramento, which
Mm.
was just it wasn't planned. I wasn't planning to go there. And I got into writing, developing and writing. Bless you. Got into. You should have left the sound on. Because now people listening to this will be like, "Why did he say that?"
Because I sneezed.
I got into I got into advertising. So I was
Mm.
working for local businesses there, creating print campaigns, because I've always been into not so much photography, but taking the end result and putting it into like Photoshop and manipulating it and turning it into something interesting. Uh,
Hmm.
I was helping this little company develop um, campaigns for local businesses, and that led to TV commercials on the local TV stations.
Hmm.
So I started developing entire campaigns from launching, and then how many commercials the campaign would have. Um, were they 30-second or 60-second spots? Developing all that, and then actually writing the scripts for the commercials. Then I got behind the camera and started directing the commercials. So the whole it became like I was a one stop. I wrote, I created, I wrote, I directed, I produced, I edited, and then I delivered them to the TV station and they put them on the air. Um, I won an award, an advertising
Oh.
award, for one of my commercial campaigns that I did. And that got me thinking. It's like, hey, I'm finally behind the camera. I'm being creative. I'm doing stuff. It's like, what can I do next? About that same time, my dad got sick. My
Mhm.
parents had retired to northern Nevada, to a little community that's about 50 miles from here called Fallon. My dad's was retired military, and they have the Navy base, the Navy
Mhm.
training station in Fallon, where they actually shot the first Top Gun movie.
Mhm.
So my parents had retired there. So my dad got sick, and I was back and forth Sacramento like every weekend to help my mom out. And I noticed that they weren't doing a lot of the stuff they used to do. So I decided, you know, I don't want to see them lose the house. I definitely don't want to see them go into assisted living. It's like, what do I have to do here? So I
Mhm.
uprooted everything and I just moved to northern Nevada and did not have a job or anything. I left the advertising people I was working with and all that. I was still doing some consulting with them, and I still did a couple more commercial campaigns with them after I moved up here. But that was in 2007, and that started my journey in Nevada. While I was up here, the first thing I heard about, I was driving from Reno to Fallon one day, and I had one of the local radio stations on just to have something on in the car, and they were running a commercial contest. They had bought
Hmm.
they had bought two spots on one of the local TV stations, and they said we're gonna try advertising the radio station on the TV show or on the TV, and all of our listeners can enter this contest to make a commercial for Bob FM. That was the 90, 90 97 97 Bob FM. Yeah. Anyway, um, so I thought, what fun! But then this is like a Wednesday, and it's like the videos were due on Friday morning.
Oh
I'm like,
no.
geez. And they had been running it for like 2 months, but that's the first I'd heard about it.
Mhm.
So I got home. I called a friend who had a camera, and I said, "Can I borrow the camera?" And then I ran around town talking to like 3 or 4 friends of mine, and I said, "Look, can you come over tomorrow afternoon and bring this, bring this, bring?" I had a whole list of things. I wrote the commercial in the car while I was driving home.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, so Thursday afternoon, they all showed up. We shot this thing and had a ball doing it. It only took us like an hour to shoot the whole thing, and then I edited the thing overnight, drove to Carson City, and delivered the thing. I won a T-shirt. That was, but my commercial aired on TV too. So yeah,
Awesome.
they picked the top 3 winners, and I was one of the top 3. So that was exciting. Then I found out about short filmmaking competitions, like the 48-hour film race. But there was one
Mhm.
that was right in northern Nevada. It was in Carson City, and they were doing 3 competitions a year. And I called and I talked to the lady who was running it, Darla Bayer, and she said, "Well, it's kind of late to make a film for this one, but do you want to be one of the judges?" Because I had a decent industry background, and I said,
Yeah.
"Sure, I'm very judgmental." I said, Let's yeah, let's do that." So I got to see all the films in advance, and I cast my votes and different categories, directing and writing and all that. But that got me thinking, hmm, this is no different than making a TV commercial, because the films had to be no more than 9 minutes long. So you had 5 minute to 9 minute window for your films to be. And I thought, I'm going to wait till the next one comes up. So the next one came up and I entered it. And that's what started my short filmmaking career. Not short career, I was making
Yeah.
short film, which
Mhm.
I just did the new one for the Halloween competition and submitted it last Friday. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah, I'm working with a new group of filmmakers that I had not worked with before, but who I knew.
Mhm.
I didn't have time to actually put a production team together for this one, but they had time to do that, but they didn't have time to do all the groundwork. So I wrote the
Mhm.
script and then did all I went to the spirit store to buy the supplies and since I knew what we needed, I just went and bought all the props and delivered it to
Mhm.
them. And I said, okay, guys, have fun. And then they made the film. And then we edited it together and it turned out really fun. Heidi's in
Oh,
it.
great. Great.
Her
That's awesome.
voice
Her
is in
voice.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
No,
there's
those
three
are
places
yeah.
where we have voiceover tracks. So I called all the Harridge House people and I said, I need help. Got him into
Yes.
Zencast. Got him into Zencaster. Recorded him. Yeah. So
That's
it was fun.
great.
So yeah,
No, that's
that got me into making short films, and
mhm.
I still write. I've got a TV pilot that's floating around LA right now that's getting some attention. I don't know what's
Mm.
going to happen with it. It's one that I've been developing for a long time, and I just have never let go of it because I like the concept behind it. And finally wrote the thing, and then it turned out better than I thought it would. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna send this around to a few people and see what they say.
Yeah.
I've got a screenplay that is in various stages of development, comes and goes. It kind of like peaks and valleys.
It goes. Mhm.
Yeah, right now
Mhm.
it's climbing the peak again. So we'll see what happens this winter, and then it'll probably valley out again after.
Yeah. That I muted
What
that.
was that?
Sorry.
Was that the doorbell or was that the computer?
No, that's my other computer. My other
Oh,
computer
oh,
was making noises.
uh-huh. So
Um,
that's
no,
kind of
that's
my
great. Mhm.
journey. So I have kind of a jack of all trades background now with filmmaking because I've edited, I've shot the films, I've run the camera, I've run the sound systems. The only thing I have not done is I've not appeared in any of the films. I'm not an actor. I've not appeared in any of the radio productions. I'm not an actor. It's like, mm-mm. Somebody actually wanted to cast me in something, and it was like, no, no, find somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. I'll leave that to I'm like, I create it. Yes. No, I do love the acting.
Mm. Oh, and
I
it
do.
was a little side note, and it was during right after I started getting into the short film competitions that I
Mhm.
found New York City Midnight also, which
Yeah.
is where you and I met.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And
So.
that's a lot of my listeners now, how we like the group and have a
Mm-hmm.
lot the incestuous writing community that we have going on and
Mm-hmm.
hoping I can bring others into my fold. So
Well, when we developed the radio production 2 years ago, I called on fellow NYCM writer
mhm.
John Adams to co-create the show with me,
Yeah.
and he was very instrumental in getting that whole first season up and running. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, John is great. John is great. Yeah. I
yeah, so there's
loved reading his stuff. Yeah.
quite a few names associated with the show that are
Mhm.
familiar to New York City Midnight.
Yeah.
I love the short form.
Mhm.
And I think it's because I did advertising for so long. I mean, with advertising, you've got 30 seconds or you've got 60 seconds. That's it.
Mhm.
And if it's 2 frames over 60 seconds, it's too long.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and that taught me how to compact and how to, and then the short filmmaking competitions again we limited to 5 to 9 minutes. If
Mhm.
it's if it's 2 seconds over 9 minutes, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
it's 2 seconds under
Exactly.
five
Yeah.
minutes, you're disqualified. Exactly. So I love the short form because it really makes your brain think about,
Mhm.
what to include in the story, what to include in the dialogue. and you find yourself at the end, it's like, no, we can lose this whole sentence here, we can lose this whole scene here,
Yes.
and not if
Yes.
and still end up with the same, the same storyline with
Yeah, you
more
have to get yeah, you
more
get really
minimal.
creative.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I think it's so great, like, I love, doing the ink to screen challenges that I do
Hmm.
is for new writers, and, like, even, others have told me it really helped, like, hone their craft where it's a lot easier to kinda add, but to bring it contract and bring it back and everything. Because if you can get a whole story in 5 minutes, then there's something there, and you can always,
uh,
expand on it.
I love the beta reading process. I had never encountered beta readers until New York City Midnight,
Yeah.
and I've developed a reputation for being the format Nazi. When somebody
Yeah.
sends me something, when somebody
Mm,
sends me something to beta read, I am a
mhm,
stickler for formats,
mhm.
and I will shred the script just on formatting alone without even touching the story. So I've gotten that reputation around New York City Midnight of being very harsh in my criticisms. I try to balance it too. It's like I'll give you something bad, and then I'll give you something good, and then I'll give you something bad again, and then I'll give
Mhm.
you something good again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it doesn't always work
Yeah, and
that
I
way, though.
just
There have been a couple
and
I've
I
read that were just abysmally bad that I couldn't find anything good to say about them. And then
I
I write
had yeah, I yeah.
that's when I write back to the author, and it's like, my criticism's going to be pretty harsh. Are you sure you want me to keep going?
Well, at least with the beta, like, you're anonymous. They don't know. Like, I've had a writer where I had to give bad feedback, and I'm just like, there wasn't anything redeeming in here. I mean, I don't know where you came up with this, but he lashed back pretty bad, and I'm just like, and it wasn't just me. This is when I had a couple of readers too. Right now, it's just me until we get more entries into Ink to Screen. But before, I had like two or three readers, and it wasn't just me. But I keep them
Hmm.
anonymous, and so you got me. So
Well,
so
with
he definitely lashed back.
with NYCM, it's not anonymous though. They put up the beta spreadsheet, and it's your email
Oh,
address with your name on it, and you're
oh, I guess I
communicating.
never looked into it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're communicating directly with the other writers. Um, so it's like it's gotten to the point where with each competition, as it's nearing, I start getting
Mm-hmm.
emails from some of them going, I know you only have so many that you can do. It's like, can I get on your list? And I'm like, okay, that makes me feel good. It
Yeah.
also
No,
it also
because
makes it also makes me
oh, go
feel
ahead.
good when I offer critique and comments and ideas for
Yeah.
improvement, and they implement those ideas, and then they go on to place and move on to the next
Mm-hmm.
round. I love that when that happens.
Well, and it's so hard as a screenwriter or a writer in general. We're so stuck in our own ideas sometimes that, like, I think it's important to have a collaboration, but we're so scared to give away our ideas that sometimes it's hard for
Hmm.
us to do that. So, but I think it's important, like, to have like a community and people that you can share it with, because you never know. It's like, let me
Hmm.
throw something against you and see what comes back, and if it's something
see
that can help, yeah.
see if the spaghetti sticks to the wall.
Exactly, exactly. Like, or a different way of describing it, because that was one, like, I read one and somebody that I like, I like their work, and I'm just like, I don't understand where you were going with this. So I put it in I'm like, you may need something here to describe it in a different way. So that's kind of
Hmm.
what I do, because I
I
I mark up the script and then I give my feedback in a coverage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I do mine too. I go through and do PDF sticky notes in the script
Yeah.
itself, and then I write up a whole commentary in Word after that.
Yep.
It
Hmm.
repetition and excessive verbiage are my two big things. Um,
Yeah.
I I went through. I actually physically went through one of the scripts I was beta reading, and I plugged it into Word, and I cut out all the extraneous words and all the overly descriptive things that wasn't
Hmm.
necessary. And the script was under half the size that it was. So in the original
Yeah.
form, it was 5 pages, which was the limit.
Hmm.
I said, you've really only got about 2 pages of script here, which means you've got a 2-minute movie.
Yeah.
Now look at the edits I made here and then compare them to what I cut out. And hopefully that sinks in. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it's not a college term paper that you're trying to fluff up the word count. Like,
exactly.
everything in your script, 5 pages, 10 pages, has to mean something, and
Hmm.
it has to, yeah. And some get like just no description,
Hmm.
sometimes you go too far, and I'm like, you need to set the scene still.
Yeah, some of
You
the
still
people
need
in
to
the
tell us what we're doing.
yeah, some of the people in the forums don't like me either because they'll start picking on the writer about no camera angles. Don't put in
Yeah.
camera angles. And it's like, dude, you need some camera shots just to set your scene up. You
Yeah.
don't need
Well,
every camera shot
yeah.
laid out for everybody. That's the director's job, but
No.
you need the basic master shot to
But I think you can set that up without saying the camera pans, or you can set
yeah.
it like a you can set it in such a way, but you have to still set up that scene, but you don't have
Mhm,
to say the camera goes here to here, or
right.
cut
Or
to, and all the yeah.
yeah, cut
Yeah.
to medium shot, cut to far shot,
Yeah, yeah.
cut to high angle, cut to
That's a
aerial.
production, yeah.
Yeah, that's a production
That's the
script.
shooting script. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I talked to a lot of more beginners. So let's think back, what, 5 years when you started?
5 years?
Back when you were when you were a beginning screenwriter,
Oh
what were
yeah.
some things that really helped you along the way?
Well, since my target was television, um, all of my instructors in college had definite ideas on what to do, but they were all in agreement that if you could get your hands on actual real scripts that were used in productions,
Mhm.
read them, study them, see how they're structured, especially television, because you have
Yeah.
4 acts that you have to allow for the commercial breaks and things like that, and learn from them. And don't
Mhm.
just get the best scripts, get shows that were terrible and get shows that were successful, and read, try to figure out why the show didn't succeed or why the writing was bad, those cases. So that was one of the big things right there. The other thing that was very helpful to me was when we had to write something for screenwriting classes, we had to bring in enough copies the following week of the scene or the whatever we were working on to be able to assign fellow students to read the characters,
Mhm.
and then the instructor would read the camera business, all the scene description and all of that, so that the writer could sit back and listen to it. And that I found was very useful, very helpful, and that's why I conduct periodic table readings of projects, and Zoom has opened that up for me. It's like getting people together on
Mhm.
Zoom is easy. Getting people together to come to a table reading at a conference room somewhere is
It's really hard.
impossible.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Zoom has been, the pandemic has had some good things come out of it, like
Yeah.
Zoom and
Mhm.
Zencaster, which we're using to record
Yes.
this.
Yes.
um, for our radio production, we do everything remotely. No one comes into the studio.
Mhm.
So we have actors that are in different states. We have actors that are in different countries. In fact, you
Mhm.
worked with one of them.
Yes. Mhm.
She played your sister, and
Mhm.
she's in Spain now. She was in
Yeah.
England when she was recording with us, but now she lives in Spain. So
That's amazing.
it
Yeah.
is amazing.
Mhm.
And
And open
yes,
so much doors, and yeah.
your 2 episodes are finally airing at the end of this month. So it's been
So,
a long wait.
yeah. The obligatory plug-in. Listen to my show. I'm in there. No. Listen
Yes.
to his show. You'll recognize. Yeah, because I mean, most of my experience is acting. I mean, I've been acting since I was 10 years old,
Mm.
and then I turned to screenwriting and playwriting too. And so I try to tell all the writers, like, coming at it from an actor's perspective, I think
Mhm.
gives me a different angle. And I think a lot of them, I'm like, if you could just have a couple of your friends just come over, hey, have a bottle of wine,
Mhm.
read this out
Mhm.
loud for me. I'll read this scene direct, and just you don't have to be professional actors for you to hear the cadence of the dialogue, to hear how things move in a certain way. I think
Mhm.
that's, especially if you're writing a feature film, that's definitely
Mhm.
has to be a part of your editing. That's what I always suggest.
I work better with collaborators. All of my
Mhm.
best work has always been with another writer.
Mhm.
um, so Harridge House is a good example. I brought John in to round that out with me, and the two of us turned the show into something that I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the first script I sold to that horrible TV series in 1980 uh, was a collaboration with my friend Louise, and I did that. Um,
Yeah.
and literally everything that I've that I'm really happy with, everything that I've been really happy with, has been a collaboration with other writers.
Yeah.
It's great because I remember that first script. Um, she was an avid collector of Star Wars and Star Trek collectibles and such.
Mm.
And when we were mapping out scenes, we had the whole tabletop cleared off. We had all her action figures on the tabletop, and we were actually moving them around and reciting dialogue. One of us would be like blurting out dialogue while the other was typing away. And we were staging the scene. It's like, okay, so they're doing this and they're doing this. So the camera would have to be over here. So
Mhm.
describe it from that angle. And
Yes.
it was so much fun. And it was
Mhm.
4 days of, I mean, we literally blew our jobs off and all that just so that we could concentrate on getting the stupid script done. And
But
then
that's
actually,
amazing. That like yeah. That,
yeah.
like, makes me so happy. That would fill me up with so much happiness, like, when I do that, or, when we I did with the 24-hour, like,
Hmm.
plays, 24-hour plays, and, holy crap, and you had to collaborate to try, and, like, 10 different writers coming up with 10 new plays
Hmm.
in, in 8 hours, and then putting them on stage, by the next day was just, it was incredible to see what you're capable of when you're not just trying to wait for something to happen.
I like having a deadline. That's why I like the competitions so much, is because you
Mhm.
sign up, they start, and you know you've only got this amount of time, and it's like you got to do something quickly.
Yes. Yes.
This film we just did for the Halloween film competition was plagued with problems from the beginning. I literally, during the period that we had to make the film, I literally only had 1 day that I could shoot it. And on that day, my camera guy flaked on me.
Oh, no.
I finally texted him and it's like, you're an hour late. And he's like, oh, I had to work extra shift. And it's like, when did you find this out? Oh, 9:30 this morning. It's like, you couldn't tell me then? It's like 3:30 in the afternoon and we had to be out of the location. We were at
Oh.
a remote location. We had to be out of there by 8:30. So by the time
Oh,
he
no.
would have gotten there, we would have had about 40 minutes to shoot. And so I scrapped the whole thing. I said, forget it. I'm not going to do it. So the person whose house we were using, she's one of the people who organizes the competitions.
Mhm.
She kept on me. She kept texting me and she's like, it's like, you still have 2 weeks. It's like, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't have 2 weeks. I already juggled everything around to have that 1 day free. It's like, I can't
Mhm.
juggle the same people around again. They're going to kill me. So it's
Yeah.
like, no, I can't do that. So then she hit me on Monday with, well, what about having one of the teams that didn't register this year do it? And I went, like, who? She rattled off a couple of names, and I said, really? They didn't register? They always register. So I got off the phone with her and called one of the teams, and I said, look, I've done the groundwork. If you guys do the production, then we'll just share the credit on it. And they were like, yeah, we didn't register because we didn't have time to do like all the groundwork, but we can shoot it. So I said,
Mhm.
perfect, let's do this. So we made a movie.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
it was crazy though because we were right down to the last minutes of deadline, and I'm still
Mm.
mixing audio and I'm still doing titles, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, we're not going to make this. We're not going to make this.
Mhm.
Shut up, Scott. Shut up, Scott. Keep working. And we got it in. We got it in. So
Mhm.
we're happy with it.
But yes. But it's just good to know that there are different options out there than just having script and trying to sell it to Hollywood and get it made. Like
Hmm.
that's another I'll have another interview with the guy who did my challenges, who is now has his own production company, and he's shooting all of his short scripts and everything, and that's great, and that's awesome.
That
Like
is awesome. And
I'm
there's a market for short films.
there is.
A lot of
Mhm.
people don't waste. A lot of writers think they're wasting their time writing a short film, thinking that
Mm-mm.
there's no future in it. There's plenty of future in it. You can enter in competitions. There's whole short film festivals that
Yes.
you could, and you don't need a whole lot to go make a movie anymore.
You do not.
The camera
Mhm.
technology in an iPhone is so sophisticated that they're actually using iPhones to shoot TV commercials and
Mhm.
actually short films. So
Exactly.
get a
Yeah,
good microphone
exactly.
set up and get a couple people who are passable as actors, and you can go make your own
Mhm.
movies.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like you'd be surprised at like even community theaters, like what, talent that you do have there. They just do it for fun, but you get, a college film crew together. Hey guys, want to
mhm.
make something real fast? And yeah. Yeah. So
Didn't you
thank
want
you,
to talk
Scott.
about?
So
Didn't you want to
hmm?
talk about radio writing or audio writing?
Well, no, I'm gonna bring you on again if
Okay.
you'll do so, but I will bring you on with Haley and John, and we'll talk about,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
creating a script and transforming it into radio. I think that needs to be a whole different segment.
Maybe we could get Fiona on the line too if it's not,
Fiona, yes, yes.
depending on what time it is
Fiona's
in England.
Yeah. We'll make it nice for her. We'll make a good time for her. That's totally fine.
Absolutely.
I just thought that would
Absolutely.
be good. So tell us, like I know, but tell us where we can find Harridge House, your radio
Ah,
show, and
okay.
tell my listeners who hopefully some don't know.
All right. So Secrets of Harridge House premiered 2 years ago.
Mhm,
And in that 2 years, we produced over 25 hours of content that you can now listen to on any of the major podcast apps like Apple Podcasts or iTunes, um,
mhm.
Audible, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can find it anywhere. Just plug the title in Secrets of Harridge House. That's HARRIDGE, not heritage, which most people hear heritage when you say
Mhm.
heritage. So the final two episodes, the series finale, we are bringing the show to an end, are airing October 23rd and October 30th on
Mhm.
local radio station KNVC 95.1 in Carson City, Nevada, simulcast on their website at the same time streaming, and then a week later it'll be on the podcasts. And Amber
Awesome.
has a part in both of those final two episodes. She plays Brooke Pearson, the grown up version of a character that we introduced in the second season
Yes.
as a 10-year old.
Yes.
We
No playing
flash
a 10-year.
forward into the future.
Mhm.
Speaking of John Adams, John wrote the series finale for us.
Mhm.
He was there at the beginning, and I felt it was only fitting that he come back to the
For the
show
end.
and
Mhm.
come full circle with it. And so he wrote the entire 3 hour story that the first hour of which became the season finale, and now the final 2 hours are the series finale.
That's awesome.
So that's coming up. There's a new series we're doing premiering next year called Radio Story Hour, where once a month it's an anthology series. Once a month we'll present a new story. It's open genre. I'm working with writers now. In fact, Ms. Bosworth here is coming aboard as one of our writers. Um, she pitched a fun idea, which I thought had a lot going for it. So I said, "Yeah, go write the script. Let's do it." So and for me, from a production side of it, if I say go write the script, that means you got a spot.
Yeah,
So
good.
yeah, that means you're in. So
Yes. So I
as
definitely need you guys on so you can help me late no. So I can transfer what I've written a long time ago to
mhm.
make it radio. But yes,
if
good.
um, if your listeners go to Spotify and just plug in fiction podcast, they're going to get pages of shows.
Mhm.
And all of the contact information is there for all of the production companies that produce those shows. If you're interested in audio and radio and that sort of thing, contact some of those shows and say, hey, I'm a writer. Are you looking for writers? And half the time, you're going to get responses back from them because you're going to find some poor producer who's doing everything himself, including writing every episode. And
Uh-huh.
he or she is going to bow down and kiss your toes for coming and wanting to work on their show. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there are
Yes.
opportunities out there to get in. I know how hard it is for writers to break into any form of entertainment anymore. Um, the industry has changed since I first got in the industry. And if you have an opportunity, I never thought I'd be doing radio. It
Mm.
never crossed my mind at all, ever. And 2 years later, we've got 25 hours of content that we've produced on this show. And I'm proud of every minute of it. So,
Mhm.
and it was a definite learning experience. There's a whole good story when you bring John and I back about the early days before we even had auditions for the main characters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, that was
Yes.
crazy. That was
No,
a
yeah.
little over 2 years ago. So yes, and the other significant thing is the last episode, episode 41, which is airing on October 30th, is the exact 2 year anniversary of the premiere date of the first episode. So
Awesome.
we have come
So definitely full circle.
full
Yes.
circle with the show.
Yes.
But
So,
by the end of third season, though, we were all tired. We were just, oh man, we just
and so
couldn't.
your anthology is going to premiere for December, right?
January,
January.
January.
Okay. So, cuz I know you
The
said you had a
plan,
Christmas one?
the plans for the Christmas one are not working out.
Oh,
The first draft script is actually worthy of a 3 hour time block, and we're
yikes.
editing and we're
Yeah.
trying to bring it down to an hour, and it's just not working.
Oh,
So
that's not good. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and if we
See?
break it into two 1 hour parts, this is the 10th of October. We don't have time to record it.
Mm-mm.
We have
No.
barely enough time to get in and do 1 hour, but to do
Yeah.
2 hours, we don't have time.
Yeah.
So Christmas
Yeah.
isn't going to happen. We're gonna do a double Christmas special next year.
There you go. There you go.
So we'll
Awesome.
air the one we were going to do this year plus the one we have planned for next year. So
Yeah. So that's I like to do on my podcast like a writing action, and I think that's a great, like you mentioned, going on Spotify. Writers, go on Spotify, look at the drama series and see if you can pick one, listen to one, see if one vibes with you and reach out to the producer, see if there's something that you could possibly do. I think that's a great action item. I mean, you don't have
go
to do it now, but something for them to do later.
go on Reddit also. The
Reddit.
subreddit r/audio drama,
Mhm.
and you'll find constant posts there from producers who are starting up new shows and are looking for teams to come work on their shows.
That's great.
There
That
may
is so
not be
great. Yes.
any pay in it. Um, I mean, in the entire 2 years we've run Harridge House, there isn't a single person on the show that's been paid for their work, for writing, acting, directing, the whole
Mm.
straight across the board. Not even as producer, not even me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I haven't seen a penny of it. It's all gone into sound effects and music licenses and
Yeah.
uh, things
Yeah.
we need to make the show happen.
Mhm.
Microphone kits for the radio station, which we loan out to actors. This is one of the radio station loaners.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
See, so it's a labor of love. And
mhm.
I do my theater, my community theater for 20
that's how that's how
years,
we
and they're just like,
that's
yeah,
how we pitch the show. It's community theater on the radio.
there you go. That's
Hmm.
great. Yeah, and doesn't take it takes a lot. Well, it takes a lot less time for an actor than it
Hmm.
does for you guys.
Well, and the
But
nice
as
thing
a community theater,
about radio too is we use the same application here that you're using to record
mm-hmm.
this Zencaster, and if you blow your line, you're not in front of an audience of 200 people
Mm-hmm.
suddenly trying to figure out what to do to save the scene. You can just
Yes,
say, "Let me do that again," and you just do the line over, and we use the better of the two. So
Yes, exactly. It's a
that's
good I mean, it's a great kind of middle ground between theater and film. So it's that beautiful little middle
mhm.
ground that I think we just haven't had a lot of experience with, and I think that's great that this is something and it's coming, it's building traction. I think that's important. So, thank you so much, Scott. I
Thanks
think
for
that's
having
all
me.
I mean, it was just great. Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. All right. And I will put everything down in the show notes. I'll put it on the webpage where you can
Mhm,
find Harridge House. I'll put those links in there too for everybody.
mhm.
So you'll go to www.inc. No, not ink to screen. See, flipped. www.thescriptmistress.com/scene 5, the number 5. And I'll have it all here. And then the video, hopefully, if it looks good. All right.